effective on his international track. That's why I think that was the right step to work for Ukraine. Because to hold the experience for the year and a half of the being Minister of Defense in the stay during the war, nobody will say what does it mean to be effective and to be transparent and so on, because no one knows how to buy something to do procurement when everybody believes that Kyiv will fall in 3, 5, 10 days. And I think he did what he could a year ago.
Ukraine's defense minister, Oleksii Reznikov, has confirmed that he's leaving his post. He'd led the defense ministry since before the start of the Russian invasion of February 2022. President Zelensky said that he had been dismissed because it was time for new approaches in the defense ministry. But why has he been sacked? I asked Solomiia Bobrovska, Secretary of Ukraine's Committee on Foreign Affairs and deputy head of her country's delegation to NATO.
We had the gossips for the last 3-4 months that Reznikov is planning to leave, or that was a decision between the president and Reznikov that he's going to leave the position. We had, unfortunately, a couple scandals about the corrupted schemes which happened to Minister of Defense, about the probably you've heard about the scandals about the buying the eggs for soldiers. The price was too high, and the last scandal was about the jackets which were bought last year. But still, I think that the court has to put the final dot in these issues. But probably you know that we don't have the ambassador to the Great Britain, and Mr. Reznikov is planning to take this position. Actually, if Great Britain will accept him.
Is there a suggestion that Mr. Reznikov was either involved in or not doing enough to stop this corruption within the Ministry of Defence in Ukraine, that perhaps contracts were awarded that were doing deals for certain people within the ministry?
My personal position that he has to be probably more involved in managing the processes of the in these procedures, I would say, in controlling these procedures. I know for sure that he was 100% busy with the Rammstein, with the partners, communications, and so on, trips to frontline as well. And I think that he missed this time for control what were doing his deputies, and I think that was the biggest problem. And he had to make the decisions beforehand when the journalists put this into media about the scandals, about the corrupted schemes and scandals. And I think that would be a proper step from his side. Unfortunately, it happened as it happened. But I think that his mistake was in not controlling his deputy 100%.
So he has taken ultimate responsibility for some of the corruption within the department, but you're saying he wasn't directly involved himself?
Yes, that's my position. I think so, because I heard him during his hearings on the Committee on Defense and Security, parliamentary committee, and that's my perception. Because I truly believe that he is a professional, and he unfortunately missed that track, which actually played a crucial and critical role to his position now, holding this position now.
But do you think there is a risk that perhaps he has been tainted by these allegations of corruption? And I mean, under those circumstances, is he really the right person to become the next ambassador to the UK, which of course is playing quite an important role in supporting Ukraine during the war.
I think he's quite professional and being very effective in the diplomacy within the defense community, and I think like he has to be from his side the speech or the explanation why the scandals happened, and he has to explain. And I think he will be rather effective because in Great Britain, being ambassador. Why? Because he was accepted. He was effective on his international track. That's why I think that was the right his step to work for Ukraine. Because to hold the experience for the year and a half of the being Minister of Defense in the stay during the war, nobody will say what does it mean to be effective and to be transparent and so on and so on. Because no one knows how to buy something to do procurement when everybody believes that like Kyiv will fall in 3, 5, 10 days. And I think he did what he could a year ago.
So we understand that he's going to be replaced by Rustem Umerov. Now, that's not a name that'll be well known to people who are listening to this programme. What can you tell us about the man who's going to be the next defence minister in Ukraine at this critical stage of the war?
Rustem is my colleague from my faction. He became the member of parliament 4 years ago. He's Crimean Tatar. And I know that he played a really huge role into making happen our prisoners of war to come home to Ukraine, especially the commanders of Azovstal who were there in Mariupol. But no one can say who can be the effective Minister of Defense during the wartime in Ukraine. No one, because that's the position which will demand so many tracks to be efficient, to be transparent, to be responsible for that, and that would be one of I think the biggest exam, as it was to Reznikov, and as it will be for Rustem. That's my personal position on that.
And we have heard that there have been some further breakthroughs by Ukrainian forces as they try to recapture territory from the Russians. How significant, though, do you think those gains are?
I know that's the very high expectation from the counteroffensive operation, and every second week I'm on the front line as well with my colleagues and with my soldiers. I would say now it's for us crucial the nearest 2-3 months, because we understand we are facing the winter time, and winter never plays on someone's position, yes, and we see that resources that we had that's much more. They cannot be compared with the Russian resources, and on spring and summer we'll face again our partners to face the elections, and we see and we know and understand how the political views and political support can change a lot, and that would mean that actually one of the tracks can be that we can be not alone, but with the less support in the nearest 9-10 months, and that's frightening, because that can be the frozen of the conflict, or which is very popular, unfortunately now, thesis in the media, that's making us to have the negotiations with the Russian Federation.
Because there was so much expectation, wasn't there, about this offensive? Do you think there is some frustration amongst the Ukrainian forces and the wider people there that more progress has not been made?
To be honest, no. I see more frustration among our partners. If you remember the talks and topics about the counteroffensive started last December or last November, and we couldn't actually talk about the counteroffensive the nearest 6-7 months and expect them immediately in a couple of days to see success on Kherson or Zaporizhia on the south, for example, direction. No, it's too obvious. It can happen because every centimeter of the land is very high, of Ukrainian and cost Ukrainian lives. So I want to say that among Ukrainians, no, we understand, because every second, third family understands what does it mean to have the father, brother, husband on the war, and like they don't understand why our partners demanding us success so fast.
And let me just ask you finally, we've had this meeting today between President Putin and President Erdogan, and clearly President Erdogan is trying to broker a resumption of the grain deal in the Black Sea. I mean, how important would that be? Would Ukraine be pleased if there could be some sort of new deal to allow exports of grain to resume?
I hope Turkey will try to start this conversation again, because if we are blocked on the sea, and now we are blocked on the land with the borders with the Poland, Slovakia, Romania, and Romania. That again will be one of the biggest issue and question from the president to the partners what Ukraine has to deal with, how we had to move, because that would be the catastrophe, and that's not an option. I even cannot imagine if we will be blocked from all sides. That would lead, I think, really big question to the leaders, G7, G20, UN.
Well, that was Solomiia Bobrovska, Secretary of Ukraine's Committee on Foreign Affairs and Deputy Head of her country's delegation to NATO, speaking to me just a little earlier.